story that we've been following is Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who then, of course, became Pope Benedict. His involvement in covering up the pedophilia cases inside the Catholic Church. Now, the Catholic Church pretends to be outraged by this. How dare you accusing him of covering up these cases? Well, he was in charge of the committee that was looking at these cases, and oftentimes, as we explained earlier in the show, he seemed to have covered them up. Like, he didn't do the punishment, he didn't kick the priests out, et cetera, et cetera. So the reason that the Catholic Church is lashing out so much is because they can see that they're clearly wrong, and their facts are not on their side, so they, come at it even stronger, as if they're like aggrieved. So what's going to hurt their cause is the latest case, an Associated Press exclusive on this. Apparently, at the time, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger was in charge when Reverend Stephen Kiesel here in the United States in the Oakland area was let's put it this way. The people in his superiors asked to have him defrocked and removed from the church. Why? Among other reasons, in 1978, he had tied up a couple of young boys and molested them. And he had gotten 3 years of probation. I don't know why tying up or molesting young boys in a church gets you only 3 years probation, but that's what happened. So in 1981, they asked the Vatican, hey, can you please remove this guy? Ratzinger, who's in charge at that time, takes 4 years to respond. First of all, that's egregious right there. They ask him 3 different times after the initial request. They're like, please, can you tell us what to do here? In fact, the superiors the superiors of Kiesel are asking Ratzinger, hey, it's doing us more damage to keep him inside the church than to kick him out. But Ratzinger views his job as protecting the church. He writes back to them, yeah, he's kind of young to get defrocked, and I think we're going to need more careful review and more time to review this. But in the meantime, he says, he urged the bishop to provide Kiesel with, quote, as much paternal care as possible. Not paternal care to the victims, paternal care to the guy who's tying up the boys. And he let it go. And so Kiesel stayed in the church another 2 years. Later, when he was defrocked, it's not clear if Ratzinger was the one who made that decision or someone else. But the last we saw was Ratzinger saying, no, I'm going to keep this guy inside the church. Now, can you guess whether Kiesel went on to molest other people? Of course! Here is Louis Van Blois, an attorney for one of the 6 people that Kiesel victimized. He said, according to him, Kiesel, quote, admitted molesting many children and bragged that he was the Pied Piper and said he tried to molest every child that sat on his lap. When asked how many children he had molested over the years, he said, tons. The longer they kept him inside that church, the more opportunity he had. And Ratzinger's main concern was not the victims. He's now Pope Benedict, of course. It was the reputation of the church and to make sure that Kiesel had paternal support. By the way, just in case some conservatives are going to go, so, aha, another homosexual. First of all, the kids were underaged. Second of all, he also molested girls. And finally, in 2004, after doing this over and over again, he was convicted of molesting a young girl in his home in 1995 and was sentenced to 6 years in state prison. So, is Pope Benedict partly responsible for covering up these cases of pedophilia inside the church? Absolutely. This is now at least the 3rd case. That is very clear evidence that he did it over and over again. I'm going to continue to make excuses, but there's no excuse for it.
Maybe this is a little bit off, but maybe it doesn't even say it in the stories. But are there any, points of the story where parents come after these guys? So, in a normal situation, if it's just a guy down the street who's in the house that lights up when you look at the pedophile map, you come after the guy who's just molested your child. And if he's molested tons, I don't know, maybe the title, maybe the priest title does it for him. Nobody came after this guy? There's no, and I'm not saying they should have, but this is what humans do. some parents are like, what did you do? Or they hear it from their kids, and they go after the guy, especially when he's been doing it for years and nothing has been done legally about it. Because you're a priest, you don't follow the law. I don't know. I feel like I don't know how this works.
Hey, listen, you're right. It doesn't say it in the story. And JR, I feel exactly how you feel. If somebody were to tie up someone I knew, boy or girl, or my boy or girl, we all have that same reaction, right or wrong. We have that reaction, right? But JR, it doesn't say, but it looks like nobody ever, laid their hands on him, as Kenyon Martin would say, right? And he kept on doing it all the way till convicted in 2004. That's just, man, this is what makes people paranoid too, man. There is real danger in the world. There are monsters that go bump in the night, and they're real people. And sometimes they live next to you, and sometimes they're your priest. And that's what scares you even more.